Well, hello, my name is Rebecca Schnell. I am a team member of Team Bigfoot. I get to travel the world with my husband driving Bigfoot 19 while he drives Bigfoot 23, which is bodied as Gangster in the tour. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and watching it. It means a lot to me. And I have to put a little bit of a disclaimer out there. I am going to release some news. It's been a bit of a challenge to kind of wrap my head around. I've been going through some health things as of recent, and my goal is to release this information in hopes that it helps someone else, and it pretty much knocks down a narrative that I don't want to be falsely created by other people, and I want you guys to hear this information from me. So December of 23, I was diagnosed with central sleep apnea. My brain does not signal to my diaphragm to contract while I'm sleeping and breathe. There was a question, hey, have you had any injuries in the monster trucks? And I wholeheartedly believe that she really thought that the monster trucks were the culprit of why I all of a sudden had this diagnosis of severe central sleep apnea. I disagreed wholeheartedly. We'll put me on the machine, we'll see how it works, we'll sleep with the machine at night, and we'll go from there, and I'll follow up with you in 6 months. I started tour back up in January of 2024. During the 6 months time frame, I was on the machine, the metrics were working great, we made a few adjustments, I've been sleeping a lot better, I had a lot more energy, and I was a force to be reckoned with, if you ask Darren. Follow-up appointment 6 months later, I think that was about May or June 2024, and I again brought up in that appointment, I said, hey, the typical diagnoses of the central sleep apnea is to have a stroke or have a brain injury or a brain abnormality or some sort of tumor or mass, and or an infectious process. And according to all of my data, my blood work, everything looked good, but I had never had any imaging studies done of my brain. And she again said, I don't know. I don't really think that we need to. Everything's working great. And I just kind of went along with it. So we went back on tour after that little break. We went to Australia and the Middle East. And during that time frame, I don't really necessarily know if I was just unsettled with the choice not to do imaging studies or if I innately knew something was wrong. And I said, hey, you know what? I've met my deductible for the year. Let's go ahead and do some imaging studies and let's see what we can come up with. I believe that was about November, December of 2024. Meanwhile, my symptomology had really started to present itself in, I want to say June of 24. I wrecked my right ankle. Some of you may remember I was on crutches for a while. Thank goodness I was on tour break, couldn't drive. And then while we were in the Middle East, I also wrecked my left ankle. So within 6 months time frame, balance coordination, wrecked both of my ankles. Not a fun time for Rebecca. December 2024 rolls around, got my yearly appointments scheduled. My neurology provider had got the MRI ordered. 45 minutes. Receive a phone call within 45 minutes after leaving the imaging center. In that phone call, my neurology provider delivered the news that I had a, yet again, severe type 1 Chiari malformation. Now, there are multiple types of Chiari malformation. There is a type 1, a type 2, and a type 3. I have been diagnosed with a type 1, so I'm going to leave my explanation video to specifically talk about what I've been diagnosed with. Most frequently, Chiari malformations are diagnosed in late childhood to early adulthood. Funny enough, the most classic symptom of a Chiari malformation is a headache. And I don't know about you, but I am pretty sure that 99.9% of the people that I know all get headaches. It's not something that I really thought was a red flag. I get them almost every single day. I wake up with them sometimes, I go to bed with them sometimes, but it's never been something that I've allowed to interrupt my flow of life. Some other symptoms that you see with it are often associated with some sort of neck pain, dizziness, arm, neck, muscle weakness in the upper extremities, speech patterns, and a lot of times visual deficits and balance and coordination issues. Going back over to the headaches, the classic symptom or type of headache that you see is the occipital headache, where it is worse when you cough, sneeze, bear down, you're lifting or straining, blowing your nose, laughing, running sometimes for me, and it often can be very, very extreme and cause fainting issues. So specifically related to the Chiari malformation, we're referring to the part of the brain called the cerebellum. And the cerebellum normally has some tonsils that come off the back of it. And in a normal brain, it sits up and it's above the C1 vertebrae in the neck. With my Chiari malformation, my cerebellum and my cerebellar tonsils are down, and the tonsils are almost touching C2 in the back of my neck. Without a visual reference, I just kind of need you to visualize a little bit. In a normal brain, surrounding the brain, you have fluid called cerebrospinal fluid, and in the brain, cerebrospinal fluid. And so that fluid circulates around the brain, it goes down into the spinal canal, and it comes back up. With the Chiari malformation, with the tonsils down into that area, there's not a lot of flow for the cerebrospinal fluid to come back around, and that causes what we name increased intracranial pressures. And that's where that pain comes from with the headaches and when you're bearing down and the coughing, because it's such a force that comes back through, it causes the pain. So the next question I'm going to guess for a lot of you is, well, how do you fix it? Or how do I live with it? Or what are the restrictions that I have? I had an amazing appointment with my neurosurgeon, and I fully expected, as you guys can guess, that I was going to walk in there and he was going to say, nope, out of the truck. One of the major things that Chiari malformation patients cannot do are experience things that cause whiplash. This is not something that I just happened. This is something that I was born with. It occurred while I was in the womb. So I've had it. I am 34. I will be 35 in November of this year. I've had it my entire life. That is why I wanted to come out and release this on my own, to let you all know that this is not something that the monster trucks have done or anything that I've done at all as far as my personal life choices of living the best life and doing motorsports. So what happens after someone gets diagnosed? Well, there's a couple options. Sometimes if it's a minor Chiari malformation, you can be put on medications to help with the flow of the cerebrospinal fluid. The other option is to do a surgical procedure called a decompression surgery. With the decompression surgery, they go in to the back of my skull and they make an incision down the midline back of my skull, and they will be drilling out a portion of my C1 bone and possibly some more. My neurosurgeon's going to put a shelf in there. And they're going to try to increase the blood flow for my foramen magnum and my brainstem and whatnot to help alleviate some of the symptoms that I have experienced, because my symptomology is pretty significant. It is a relatively invasive procedure. I will be put into the ICU for close monitoring right after procedure. Estimated surgery time is anticipated to be between 4 to 6 hours, depending on how my body tolerates it. And yeah, so that is mainly what's been going on, and it's nothing that it's been a secret. I just have not felt the need to, I want to say, like, publicly talk about it yet, because I didn't want there to be a false narrative created, and I wanted everyone to hear my story and what I have been going through from me specifically. So after my initial consult with my neurosurgeon, he was very generous. He came to me very honestly and said, you know what, you take a risk getting out of bed in the morning, you take a risk getting in a car every day, and you've been doing this for the last 5-6 years. It is up to you to make a calculated risk, and of course, if anything changes, we of course want you to step out and give us a call, and we'll schedule the procedure for sooner than what we had originally scheduled it for. And I was humbled. I was not expecting that. And I've been on tour with the Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live Glow and Fire series internationally for the last 5 months. And by the time this video is released, I think we will have done over 50 shows this year. As I'm pre-recording this video to be released, I underwent a few more preoperative tests one being a CT scan, and one that really alleviated my stress and struggles of sharing this news was a repeat imaging study of my brain. And it has now been documented that at this time, I have completed 47 shows this year so far. There has been no change to the Chiari malformation. I'm incredibly humbled and grateful for everyone that has had a hand in putting the truck that I drive together as far as safety innovation, and that I can prove that it is absolutely 110% doing its job. So this is Darren. Most of you that are going to watch this know who Darren is. Definitely my husband. We've been married.
I would hope if they know who you are, they know who I am.
I know, but
where one goes, the other is
That's
usually
true.
not far
That's
behind.
true. But I did
now,
do an
granted,
introduction.
I am usually 3 steps behind trying to catch up, but I'm there somewhere.
All right, so this is Darren. He pilots Bigfoot 23, bodied internationally as Gungster, and we've been married, it'll be 14 years, May 13th of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been by my side for a very long time. How has it been for you being the spouse? Because I think it's important to recognize the challenges that you have experienced being alongside of the know-all of what this condition is and the procedure that it entails.
So you really want an honest answer. The honest answer is it's absolutely frightening. It's frightening that I saw you not breathing and you being so stubborn about it and not going to get it checked out. It was frightening that we actually went to get it checked out and we had no answers. And then it was even more frightening that you have to go through this surgery. You asked me last week, what would I do? I'd gladly trade places with her. I mean, that's my honest answer. It's really hard to sit and watch. I would trade places with you if I could. I don't want to see you go through this, but it's a part of our journey, I guess, and it's going to be one heck of a story.
And I'm going to do my best post-operatively to record some footage, be very transparent and real to show you the challenges that I face and the good side, the good, bad, and the ugly of all of this. So we want to wrap this up by saying thank you so much to each and every one of you. We appreciate the support. If you'll comment, have any questions, I'll try to get to them. Like, share this video so message gets around as to why we have gone a little bit silent. And we love you guys.
Thank you, guys.